All right, it is guest time now, and our guests today are both mechanical engineers who got married about a decade ago and were living the normal suburban life until they decided to go tiny, and now they sometimes live in a van down by the river, which I'm sure they've heard 1,000 times. Please welcome the proprietors of the Stoke Loaf van, KJ and James, to the Real Men Eat Plants podcast. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, very cool to have you guys in. Now, you're not actually in the van, though, today, are you?
No. We wanted to get somewhere with a little bit of better internet and a private space so that we could talk to you without breaking up.
Absolutely.
So we're in a nice coffee shop. Yeah.
That always helps. Okay, so coffee shop where? Because, you know, when you're doing the van life thing, you could be anywhere, can't you?
Yes. Yeah. So currently we are in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh, beautiful.
We just finished making a very long road trip from Alaska down to the lower 48. So getting back hooked up to the internet, because in Canada we're a bit limited, so we need to do a lot of downloading and take care of some business.
It feels like we're finally back to civilization.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. So, but before we get in all that, because you guys have had some amazing adventures, and I definitely want to talk about some of the places that you've hit. I'm sure you get this question a lot, but it's a question that needs to be asked. Why live in a van? I mean, you had the setup, right? I mean, you're living in suburban Utah, you know, you got a house, you know, it seems like you're well on your way to being a soccer mom or, you know, golfing on the weekends, and you decide, nah, let's shut it all down and go live in a van. Why live in a van?
Because the van moves.
Yeah. It was stemmed a lot from wanting to see more places without being, held back by PTO. So in America, there's usually, I mean, unless you get a really good job, it's really hard to do more than 2, maybe 3 weeks of PTO per year. And that's like your sick and your time off. So like never like to dig too deep and like get rid of it all. So you're always kind of working with like probably 2 weeks to 1.5 weeks a year to see the places you want to see, experience things you want to experience.
And so we've been on the road now for almost 2.5 years. And I mean, we've seen at this point probably a lifetime's worth of vacation time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, what's in a name? Stoke Loaf Van is kind of an odd name, an odd setup. Why that as a name? How did you come up with that?
It was all her.
It was me. So the van is a giant white box that looks like a loaf of bread. And so, like long before we got the van, I was like, oh, it's like a loaf. And I was like, oh, we got to do something with that. We're going to call it Loaf. So it was like named before we even got it. I also love bread, love carbs.
Absolutely.
And Stoke is just like, get stoked. So like, get ready for adventure. Like, let's go. Stoke levels are high. We're going to hit the road.
Let's go have fun.
Yeah.
It's a super unique name. You know, the other thing that's kind of unique. Now, I've been married for almost 25 years. It'll be 25 in May. And one thing I know about, pat on the back. It's not easy, you know, and, but my wife and I thrive, I think, in our relationship on space. And I'm sure that you've probably heard this from other couples. You guys have probably the most limited amount of space that I've ever seen a married couple have. Either you really, really, really like each other, or you're really, really into torturing each other. I'm not sure which one it is, but which one is it? How do you do this when you're basically on top of each other day in and day out?
We at this point, we've actually been together for a while.
Yeah, we've been together for like 16 years.
Yeah, so we've been together since high school. So I think we'll lump this into the really, really like each other side of that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, we're used to doing a lot of stuff together, and it was like an adjustment of sorts because like your activities, you have to like, you know, if I want to use the table for art stuff, then he needs to like not be at the table, because the table, like we can fit both laptops, but like if I'm really going to spread out, then he'll go up in another area, and you just kind of have to like be really good at communicating. And I think like being in a van and like that type of a situation will either like strengthen your relationship a lot or ruin it.
Absolutely.
it's you get one or the other. Like I don't think you walk out of that and go, yeah, I didn't change at all. we're just okay, you know, like.
And I guess from like kind of a technical standpoint, we have about 75 square feet
Yes.
before you put the cabinets and the bed in there. And so like actual usable square feet is probably, I don't know, 20, 30, you know, like.
I've been in bathrooms much larger than ours.
Absolutely. Prison cells are larger than that. You know, I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable that you're able to do what you do. And then not only that, and we'll get to the adventure stuff because I find that all fascinating, but you're working too. So you guys have things that are going on. Talk about like the work that you actually do, because if someone's thinking about, oh, I'm going to go spend my life in a van, probably a good resource would be to start with you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we have a blog that we run and put blog posts up twice a month about living in a van, conversions and stuff like that. We have resources like ebooks for building.
Yeah, and just all kinds of different van life related info for anyone looking to get into it, looking for some tips or pointers.
Yeah, so we wanted to like make that more accessible for like people to get information on what that's like, and not necessarily just the surface level stuff, because we do have that technical background. James is very into tinkering and like loves all things that you can fix.
Love to build stuff.
Yeah, so like he's got that aspect where a lot of the blog posts you see sometimes are very like surface level, which we do have those too, like, you know, using the bathroom, where do I do laundry, how do I get mail, that stuff. But then we also dig into troubleshooting and like ways to make things in your van work better for you.
Yeah.
You know, those types of things are harder to find.
And I think we tried to like hit on a lot of the real world stuff where like, you know, if you're on Instagram, all you see is these like beautiful shots of vans parked by the beaches or in the mountains. And it's like, you know, we talk about the real world stuff too. Like it's not always beautiful. It's not always fun. Sometimes, you know, you're sleeping at the Walmart parking lot. You know?
Okay, right. And I would imagine that it's not. And as far as real world stuff, and you brought some of this up already, okay? Now, again, I've been married for almost 25 years. My wife, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call her a secret shitter. And so what I mean by that, she goes out of her way to make sure that I never know when she uses the bathroom to go number two. Now, you know, being a vegan, hell, you poop a lot. I mean, you know, it's a lot of fiber that's running through us. Okay, so how do you guys do that? Are there set rules? Are there like, okay, you know, the next time we hit like a bank, you know, I know that bank's got a good bathroom, I'm going in there. How does that work? Because I think that would be something that everybody's got to think about. Like, okay, this is everyday world, you know, we're real world stuff. How does that work out?
So we actually, we have like a full, it's mini, but we have a full bathroom in our van with like a full shower stall, and it is just a curtain you close. So like, you know, there's a little bit of privacy, I guess, but you don't have to see each other.
We definitely designed it because like, I was like, I don't want to look at you, any part of you while I'm going to the bathroom. Like, I don't care if your back's turned. We need some space. That is our space.
And so sometimes that involves like cranking up the music a little bit, you know, to cover some sounds. But.
Put on a good like poop tune soundtrack. So usually we'll find when we first moved into the van too, it was like we were definitely like music every time somebody had to go to the bathroom.
So you kind of knew what was going on. It wasn't really a secret.
You can't hide. You can hide nothing. Birthday gifts are about the only thing you can hide sometimes in the van. But yeah, you just put on a playlist. We have a composting toilet, so there's no scent. And because you're like essentially pooping into dirt, there's no sound. Unless like you really rip one off, but, but like, you know, the public restroom issue of like poop hitting the bowl, you're not going to get that in compost.
There's no splash. Yeah.
Okay, good. Very, very good. You know, and speaking of real world stuff, so being a vegan, I've only been at it for about 3 years now. But one thing that I know, especially if you want to eat healthy, there's a lot of prep that goes in it. There's meal prep, there's planning and all of that. And I'm guessing in 75 square feet, there's not room for a huge prep table or kitchen or something like that. How do you guys manage that? Because I would think there's some planning that definitely goes into that too.
We are pretty meticulous, I would say, when it comes to meal planning.
Yeah. So every week we put out our grocery list, what meals we want to cook. You know, we go and buy according to that list, and we know pretty much exactly what will fit inside of our van.
Yeah, and we have a bigger fridge that uses more energy. So we have like what we call a dorm style fridge. So it runs on regular power, which does take quite a bit more of our batteries than like a 12-volt fridge, which is a typical RV style fridge. But it allows us to carry a lot more produce We have a big basket on our wall that we can put produce in as well. And then the way we designed our kitchen, the stove is like, if you had a 4 square, the stove is in one corner, the sink is in another, and then the other 2 areas are prep spaces.
So you can both kind of like stand there and each have your own station. One person's at the sink, one person's at the stove or counter.
And you can access the fridge while someone's at the stove. It's designed in a way that we can both contribute to a meal, like in preparing a meal, without hindering.
So yeah, a lot of thought went into that. Like,
right. So I'm guessing, yeah. So this actually is kind of cool because you're both mechanical engineers. You both get a degree in that. It comes into play almost every day then for you guys using that degree, because a lot of people go to college, they have the degree, and then they end up working in a job that's not related at all. You guys are totally related to your field, aren't you? Because engineering is basically solving problems, isn't it? And you guys have that kind of stuff figured out, don't you?
Oh yeah, everything definitely. Is you're always solving and you're always compromising or coming up with a solution to make something work better.
The van as a whole is a compromise. Yeah. It's a smaller house so that you can move and travel and see things. But even okay, we need this cabinet to be a little bigger. That means the other cabinet next to it has to be smaller. Mm-hmm. There's no way to not compromise on everything.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
always problem solving.
Always problem solving. Yeah, I would imagine. And then I don't think a lot of people have a lot of that background. Okay, how do I get a bigger, more powerful fridge into my van or something like that? And that's where I think using you guys as a resource would be tremendous. And using you as consultants as well. So I think that's really cool. Let's talk about where you're at right now. So you're in Bozeman, Montana. I find Montana to be, one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. In fact, my wife and I went to a dude ranch up in Fortine near the border with Canada. So actually not too far away. And it was unbelievable when we were up there. We had our own log cabin and we're out riding horses every day. And I thought it was, pretty amazing. Anyways, Bozeman, beautiful spot as well. Talk about some of the places that you've been. You just came back from Alaska. You do some I don't know if it's skiing, snowboarding, stuff like that. Walk us through some of these adventures that you've been on and some of the favorites.
Oh gosh. So at this point we've been to 47 out of the 50 states.
Yep.
Wow.
North Dakota, Oklahoma, and Hawaii are the ones we've not been to.
Okay.
So we've saved some obvious ones for last, and
Okay, so for someone who's actually lived in Oklahoma, I lived in Oklahoma for 4 years when I was stationed there in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. You're not missing anything. If that becomes state number 50, don't worry about that. You're not missing much. North Dakota, by the way, I've been through lots of times, and my son was actually just playing in Bismarck over the summer. There isn't that much to see there either. There's some spots, but other than that, I don't think you're missing anything. I'm in Wisconsin. That's where we actually do our show from, and I think Wisconsin's got some pretty amazing spots if you've been through there.
We've been through last winter. We went through to Madison and Milwaukee.
Yes.
Yep.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
And stayed with. We have some family in there in the area, so we were finally able to swing through there.
We were pleasantly surprised by the area.
Yes.
Kind of went into it not thinking a whole lot. It was actually really fun.
But it was really beautiful.
Yeah, Madison's got a lot of water, lakes, stuff around it, and it's a really pretty city. So, I hope you enjoyed Wisconsin as much as we enjoy it. But okay, so best states, because I'm thinking you guys moved out west. You got an affinity for the West. Is it the Western states that you like the most?
Definitely.
It's definitely it's the mountains for me. But I just think there's so much wonder in that landscape. We're not really beach people. We'll go and see the beach and stuff, but the mountains and the area around that is something that's just inspiring.
I know Alaska was absolutely mind blowing. It's like another world up there.
So gorgeous.
It's easy and hard in some ways, but it's definitely worth the drive.
Love the Rocky Mountains in Canada. So Jasper to Banff, that region is just stunning. The west coast of Canada, also stunning. And then Montana is a favorite. Idaho we finally got to spend time in Idaho. There's states that evade you because you're always on a mission to go somewhere. And so there's pass-through states. And Idaho had always been the way we get to Tetons, the way we get to Yellowstone, and how we get to other places, but we hadn't spent much time there, and that was really gorgeous.
You can see we're listing off a million different places.
Yeah, it's great though. Yeah,
it depends on the season. It depends on your state of mind at the time. But Oregon, I know, I would say Oregon, Montana, and Utah are all stunning.
It's funny because you eventually you start to bend to all these places, and if you have like a choice of 1 to 2, you can pick a favorite. But if you have a choice of 47, they're all good for different reasons. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. I lived in Sedona for a year. And so, I mean, I can't imagine a more beautiful place, but then, driving down to Scottsdale wasn't my favorite, so there's, the places even within Arizona that I thought, okay, this is great. And maybe this isn't as great. So, but you listed off some, absolutely amazing places. How do you not burn out? Cause I'm guessing at certain points you're like, wouldn't it be nice just to be in a house for a while? Or how do you not burn out?
The burnout is real.
Burnout is real. Happen. Burnout will happen. I think the biggest thing that is easier said than done is to go slow. But when we first set out, we thought we'll give ourselves a year, which is super common for people. Like, we put our house up for rent or to rent, and we're like, okay, we'll give ourselves a year. The worst that happens, this doesn't work out, and I get an apartment if my house isn't done being rented, or we can always just go back to exactly what we used to do. And so we were working on that 1 year time frame. Well, in that 1 year, the pandemic hit, and we felt like we were like super robbed of 3 months of time, which everyone probably did. And so we're like, well, crap, that's 3 months of our 1 year travel.
Right, and there's so much more to see.
We were just like cramming in stuff. And then it got to the time to renew our lease on our house for our renters. And it was like, I'm not done yet. And so we're like, okay, we got a whole nother year. So we renewed the lease with them. And we were like, yeah, this will be the year. We're gonna slow down. Like, life is just the lie that you tell yourself. It'll slow down after this week, right? And I
tell myself that every day, it's not even weekly. It's like, it'll slow down tomorrow.
It'll be better tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so things slow down for us a bit in the winter while we snowboard, because you're in places until you use up your days at the resort, and then you move on. But then as soon as the weather gets nice, it just seems like no matter what you do, it's fast. And I think the summer was the first time we traveled slow, because Alaska, while big, the area you can drive to is actually small. So we were spending a week or so in every place that we went, which, allowed us to chill.
Yeah, really chill.
And it was exactly what we needed. And in other times during van life, we always look forward to spending a month at our parents' house over Christmas time frame.
Yeah. I bet.
So it's kind of a bit of a reset.
That's a reset, because it's somewhere that doesn't cost us money. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And so and we get to see familiar people, familiar places. We don't need to Google map everything. We're not worried about where we get a shower, where we dump the toilet, like those mundane tasks. Even like a grocery store, like there's an ease to shopping the store that you know the aisles, you know where to get the coupons, you know when the deals come in, you know that, this store has good produce, this store absolutely has nothing to offer me. You know those things. And then when you're traveling all the time, you're like,
you don't know those things. Yeah.
All I know is the Kroger chain is my life, and I'm just that one I can trust. But like, still you go into one and you're like,
it's laid out different.
The aisles are different. You know what
I
mean?
Yep.
So like those little things add up a lot. And I would say we were super burnt out fall of 2021.
Yeah. So, and like when that happens, either stop, sit still, get an Airbnb, find some way to slow down.
Campground for a week, just something where you don't have to worry about those regular everyday needs to protect your mental space, to take care of things that, you've been neglecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And weather is real. So I'm guessing there are times when it's really cold. There are times when it's really hot. Is the van equipped for this? How do you guys get through that?
So in the winter, it's been ups and downs, but I think we finally kind of got it figured out. We actually have 2 heaters in our van that keep us pretty toasty.
Good insulation.
Lots of good insulation. I think we're pretty comfortable down to like -15 at this point.
Okay.
Once it goes beyond that, then it's kind of all bets are off.
The heater doesn't like to work when it hits -20.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a really cold winter.
When it's hot, there's nothing you can do about it. You turn the fans on, you open the windows, open
the doors.
You do your best. You go to the coffee shop because there's air conditioning during the day.
Right. Yeah. Try and find some shade, something, because that can get pretty nasty, pretty bad. I mean, the inside of a car, I'm guessing, is the same as the inside of a van, even with insulation.
It's actually better.
It is better. So you could safely leave, because we used to have a dog traveling. But you can leave the pet in the vehicle with the fans running and the windows vented because you're circulating air. We're in a car when it's sitting still, you've got your windows and you're basically just making like a microwave. You just got like this hot box oven.
So the van is typically the same temperatures that you would be like in the shade outside.
It never exceeds the exterior temperature where a regular car, if you park in a parking lot, will actually get hotter.
Yeah, so it's like down in Scottsdale, if it's 110 outside, it's 110 in the van,
Yeah. Absolutely. So looking, you brought up Google Maps, and I guess there's a couple ways to travel. Now, in my younger days, it was always like, well, I want to get from point A to point B, so I'm taking the interstate and I'm getting there as fast as I freaking can. As I get older, I kind of get off the interstate and take state highways and county highways and enjoy the actual trip, because to me that's part of the pleasure is seeing these towns that I normally wouldn't see. Now, do you guys do a mixture of it, or have you gotten more accustomed to doing one or the other? Is it straight, we're taking the interstate to get where we're going to go from point A to point B, or are we going to draw this out a little bit and see some stuff that maybe we wouldn't normally see?
It's a mixture, and I think a lot of it depends on our mindset. So for example, like when kind of the end of the year, we get burned out, we're going to head back to our parents' place for the holidays. It's get on the interstate, drive as fast as you can.
Eyes on the prize. There's a sofa waiting for me. I'm ready.
And then at other times, though, like just coming back from Alaska now, we took 2 weeks to do that.
Yeah, we took quite a while. And I would say...
And we stopped, with 3-4 hours of driving a day, stopped at every town along the way and kind of, get out, walk, enjoy things.
Yeah. How does plant-based and being vegan figure into all of this? Because I know, it's easy for me when I'm at home to be vegan AF, as, Sergeant Vegan calls it. It's really simple. I got all the food that I want. I can plan out my meals. I can cook. As soon as I go traveling, it gets much harder for me to do. And you guys are constantly traveling. Now, it's a little bit different because you got your home with you, but still, how does being vegan, though, play in all this? How did you guys decide, okay, to become vegan? Was that a separate journey for both of you? How does vegan play into your life and your lifestyles?
So I would, to start at a level that we're at right now, we definitely cook a ton. We don't eat out a lot, and that's personal preference from behind, way a long time ago, but also just it's way easier for me to cook my food and know that it's vegan. I don't need to ask questions. I don't need to wonder if something got into my food. And we're definitely known as the cook friends of our circle. Anytime we roll up and people are like, I'm heating up leftovers, I'm going out to eat, and people are blown away that we're always cooking in the van. We reheat our lunches, or we're cooking something fresh for lunch and for dinner. So we're definitely cooking a lot more than other people in rigs.
It's probably a little bit because just where we travel, a lot of times we're in more rural areas. It's kind of hard to find vegan options at a restaurant.
But you put me in a city where I can find it, and you better believe I'm on Google Maps looking for the best.
Right. Yep.
Because that's part of the adventure for us, is that when we are in a big city,
you get to have those.
You get to have those options, and you get to try something new. And when we were in Alaska, produce was much harder to come by. That was decent. We had some of the most disgusting produce we've had in a long time, because you buy it and it's been shipped around for a while. And by the time you get it, it might look real. We got a peach that actually I was I'm not buying unless it smells good. And we bought it and it was just the nastiest thing on the inside. We had stuff that was moldy on the inside. And I darn near cried when we got to even the Yukon. We didn't have to go far. We rolled into it's Real Canadian Superstore.
It's like a real grocery store. First
grocery store. And the produce section was huge. We got figs and blueberries and kale, and it was so cliche. But I was I could cry because this is legitimate produce. And we ate a lot of pasta. We ate a lot of stuff that was in a season where you usually eat majority of fresh food in the summer. We ate a very winter style diet all summer.
Okay.
So yeah, it's trying to find the produce sections that are good. And knowing Kroger chains have a lot of plant-based store brands. So they have their Simple Truth plant.
Yep.
I
know that one. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I know that Kroger and Smith's, Fred Meyer, whatever it's called near anyone, dependably has decent produce and has weird staples, almost everywhere. Even in a small town, except for somewhere in Tucson, that was the one place that didn't have tofu.
Yeah.
But but most places at Kroger will have enough stuff to make our meals.
Yeah, and kind of another thing too, we've heard even from people that aren't necessarily vegan before van life, they either go vegetarian or vegan while they're in the van, just like because of like sanitation issues.
Yeah.
You know, we only have 20 gallons of water usually in the van. And, you know, you can't wash your hands that much. If you have like chicken and you're touching stuff, it's a small space.
Yeah.
And so it's honestly, it's just easier.
Yeah. Or like people will just be down to like eggs and cheese because like, you know, like our fridge died last year, or our power system took a hit.
And we had a hiccup. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a hiccup.
Yeah.
And we had like 3 months or Jesus, that would have been terrible. 3 weeks without a working actual refrigerator.
Oh, wow.
And so like if you would have had like animal products that just wouldn't have flown, right? Like no way.
Where we were able to put our stuff in like a small 12-volt cooler and eat through like, you know, I've only had vegan cheese go bad like 3 times. Vegan milk doesn't typically go bad. Like, I'm not worried about it killing me unless it already looks or smells disgusting. Like, I know if it's bad. It makes itself very apparent if it's bad. And so stuff keeps longer, and I'm not worried about my cutting board
it
being
actually
covered.
fits into the van life very easily.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next? I mean, we got some time here before you hit the parents' house for the holidays. What is next for you guys? And then how long? I mean, do you guys have a plan? Is this indefinite? Or is it something where you're like, yeah, we're giving ourselves another couple of years or something, then we're coming off the road?
So actually, we've got a flight out to Australia here in a few days.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So we'll be going to Australia for just shy of a month.
We're renting a van there, and we're going to do the
Oh, okay, of course. Yeah. You know. Why hotels at this point?
So we're looking forward to that. That's part of our hustle to get back to Utah, is to catch that flight. And then after that, we are actually planning to take the winter off from being on the road. So we've kicked out our renters and we'll be going back into our house for the winter. Winters are very hard. As much as we love snowboarding, it is a very hard time to be in cold climates. Most van lifers do.
Usually everyone heads down to Baja for the winter, and we're the crazy people that snowboard.
Yeah, there's very few, and even people that really love snowboarding, typically bail on being in the winter or being in the van in the winter. So we're going to take some time and work on our fortifying, like getting our blog like in a better state. We're doing a ton of back end work right now, and it's hard to work on a lot of projects when you're also planning like moving through life in a very physically moving through life kind of way.
Right.
So using that stationary time to kind of realign, reassess, and decide, and we're kind of giving ourselves a 6-month time frame on that. And after that, we have no idea. But
we'll figure it out.
I don't want to stop traveling, but the style and the frequency in which we do it will probably.
I think we're going to probably transition from 100% full-time travel to more of having a home base, some kind of house, and then going out for a month or 2 at a time, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, we definitely the freedom and what we've learned in the van has absolutely changed our perspective going forward. And
how so?
Just the value of free time. Like, time is more valuable than money. How can you live debt free? So the things that are on the table is selling our house and moving somewhere where
probably an extension of tiny living in some form, a tiny house or something like that, like trying not to have a mortgage, hopefully.
Yeah. So our home base is essentially free. Or at least, we're not paying any monthly bills other than like cell phone and water, stuff like that. And that would allow us to travel more or experiment on ventures, like business ventures, without that added stress of needing to cover, up to $2,000 in bills when you count in your mortgage and everything else. So it kind of getting rid of that financial burden to give us the time and creative freedom is kind of like the main goal.
Yeah, you only have to make a lot of money if you're spending a lot of money, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You talked quickly, and we'll let you guys get back on the road here about van lifers. Is it like a community? Do you see like some of the same people out there on the road? How does that work when you know that they're also doing like kind of the same thing you're doing?
It is very much a community,
100%.
Especially like how it kind of fits into the weather. A lot of people kind of do this circuit with the seasons and kind of follow the nicer climates. Mm-hmm. And if you kind of like get into that flow, you end up seeing people over and over again, it seems like, throughout the year.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of gatherings. Obviously in 2020, there wasn't many of those, but in 2021, there were. And we met up with a lot of people that we'd either talked to online or people we were meeting for the first time, and then just kind of like ping-ponged because we were on similar circuits. There's a van life friend that we haven't seen in probably a year and a half that we'll see later today.
Yeah, they just happen to be in Bozeman too.
Be in the area. When we were in Alaska, we were bumping into people that we knew, whether we had planned for it or not, just because there were other people up there, and that was a lot of fun. Like it kind of gives you that rush of like, oh my God, I know someone in this town. Like I might actually run into someone that I know, which typically you're like, nobody knows who I am. I like operate. I could tell someone my name is something totally different. They don't know anything.
So like there's definitely a real community there, and that makes it fun.
Yeah, and they relate to your issues. If they can. Sometimes it sounds like if there's things that are like uncomfortable in the van or things that like shift your mindset, like you could tell someone that doesn't live in that situation, they'd be like, "Oh, you're just whining. You're like living the dream," but they don't see. Like there is a burnout to constant travel, like that can really wear you down. Where like if you tell it to someone in the van, they'd be like, "Oh, dude, I know. I cried at Denny's yesterday."
So hey guys, where can people find you then? So online, YouTube, all of that kind of stuff, social media. Where people want to search you out, where do they find you at?
So we have our website, which is StokeLoafBand.com, STOKE. Loaf like a loaf of bread. And then also on Instagram under the same handle, Stoke Loaf Fan. We have a YouTube that doesn't have much on there, but if you want to see us hiking around amateur hour in some national parks.
This is like family video style footage, but feel free to watch it.
Feel free to watch it. And then also Facebook, all of it's under the same Stoke Loaf Fan. And then Pinterest. If you want to get some fan pins.
Terrific. All great stuff. Hey, you guys are living the life, I think. I think there's so much, I mean, freedom that's involved with it, and that's got to feel really good. I think that there's probably a lot of people that are listening or watching that are going to say, yeah, I'm kind of jealous of that. I might want to try that out for a while.
Give it a shot.
And what advice would you give to those people? What would you say to them?
I would say
I would say go for it. I don't think there's
what are you going to lose? Like go back to the same life you were living before? Like
right.
Yeah.
It's like the entry level, it doesn't have to be a van. You can bring a trailer, you can do a truck camper, you can do an RV, because vans have gotten a lot more expensive than when we bought it. But like
give it a shot. There's nothing to lose, right?
And like it feels so good to downsize. Like I regret nothing about like getting rid of the stuff that we got rid of. I don't regret renting our house out. I don't regret selling car. I don't
right.
If anything, I'm going to get back in our storage unit and be like, why in the hell did I keep all this? Like there's no regret. Like I would have regretted not doing this way more than I would have regretted trying. So
totally.
Just go for it, and get there. Either do it or don't. Stop Googling
and
it.
If it doesn't work out, you can say you tried, right?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I love it. And guys, you were great. Thank you so much for coming on, spending some time with us, and we'll hopefully be able to catch up with you sometime down the road. So
sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great talking.